Gamecock fans. It's the Carolina CrowLine. And here's your host, Tyler Garrett.
We may not be LSU or Alabama, but we ain't Clemson.
11 wins is for every Gamecock, always.
Welcome into the Carolina CrowLine. I am your host, Tyler Garrett. Glad to be with you on this post-Clemson game edition of the program. We have an hour packed full of USC post-game. We're going to have your complete post-game reaction from me. We're going to hear a little bit from Steve Spurrier from his post-game reaction. We're going to get a little bit into the bowl picture. Where will USC find themselves in the postseason? We're going to talk a little bit about the ACC versus the SEC. I have some reaction to the Clemson-Carolina post-game show and the dual show from last week. We're going to talk about the records that continue to fall at USC and some of the seniors we'll be saying goodbye to. So stick with us right here on the Carolina CrowLine.
And now the number one reason to get Genie from DirecTV, the most advanced HD DVR ever. It serves your entire home with one HD DVR. Call now and get a free upgrade to Genie. Packages start at $29.99 a month.
Call 800-399-5101 now and get the NFL Sunday ticket free for the rest of the season. That's 800-399-5101.
DirecTV or an RVU-enabled TV device required for each additional room. Additional and advanced receiver fees apply. Offer requires 24-month agreement and qualifying package. $29.99 package not eligible. Offer ends 2/6/13. New approved customers only. Lease required. Other conditions apply. Call for details.
Attention pain sufferers. Are you one of the millions of Americans who suffer from arthritis pain, back pain, muscle strains, or any other pain? Get pain relief in minutes with real-time pain relief. It can work that fast. If your pain is preventing you from enjoying life, or worse, if pain is keeping you up at night, visit rtpr.com/radio for your free sample. We're so confident real-time pain relief will help you, we'll even pay for the shipping and handling. That's right, free sample and free shipping of the best-smelling, most effective topical pain relief product on the market.
I tried it and it worked. The fragrance is amazing. It has a refreshing scent, so I'm pain-free and smell good too.
The makers of real-time pain relief are so confident that you'll love their product. They're offering you a sample absolutely free, and that includes free shipping. Remember to visit rtpr.com/radio now for your free sample with free shipping. That's rtpr.com/radio. Again, go to rtpr.com/radio.
We scoop the boot, dutycalls.com. When nobody else will do it, dutycalls.com. To make that dog poop go away, call or click for a free quote today.
When nature calls, we answer. To get a free quote for dog poop removal, go to dutycalls.com now.
DOODYCALLS. Dutycalls.com.
In the Midlands area, dial 1-800-DUTY-CALLS. They're number one and number two.
The Southeastern Conference has established the most outstanding college football tradition in the country. The 14 member institutions have combined for an unprecedented 459 bowl appearances. Key to the success of SEC football is support of the many loyal fans who have helped the conference lead the nation in total attendance for 29 consecutive years. The SEC salutes the more than 6.5 million fans who will attend a game at an SEC stadium this year.
Think if you live in a rural area you have to settle for a slow online experience?
We think that's crazy.
Exceed Broadband. It's the highest capacity satellite in the world, and it makes everything faster. Streaming videos, TV shows and movies, sharing photos, video chatting, sending files, and more. New feature, Late Night Free Zone. For details, call 800-503-7232. That's 800-503-7232 for Exceed Broadband. Call 800-503-7232. Again, 800-503-7232. Call now, 800-503-7232.
All right, welcome into the Carolina CrowLine. I'm your host, Tyler Garrett, and we are just getting kicked off on this post-Carolina Clemson edition of the program. If you were lucky enough to listen to us last week here on the CrowLine, we had our good friend and colleague Lawton Swan, and we did kind of a combo show. Lawton Swan is a dear friend of the program who does the Clemson Hotline, so we kind of joined forces here at the CRM studios for 1 week out of the year and just kind of do a combo Carolina CrowLine, Clemson Hotline show, and it was a whole lot of fun, and we had a whole lot of fan participation. If you are watching us live right now on the internet on vocal.com, a lot of participation. It was a whole lot of fun. Clemson Tom even poked his head in on the show, whether it be invited or uninvited based on who you ask between me and Lawton. It was just a whole lot of fun, and we talked about last week some concerns about going into the game and how the offensive firepower of Clemson was really going to be an issue. And in all honesty, I totally picked Clemson to come out with the victory. I just felt like Clemson, unlike last year where they kind of came into the game with a couple losses, kind of feeling down, they came in riding high, clicking on all cylinders, rolling over opponent after opponent after opponent. South Carolina was kind of struggling on offense. That was going to be a real question. There were injury issues with Jadeveon Clowney. There were injury issues with Connor Shaw not practicing all week. As a matter of fact, word came down shortly about an hour before kickoff this past Saturday that, in fact, Connor Shaw would not be playing in the football game up there in Clemson. So there was just a lot of positive vibes on the side of the Clemson Nation versus some sort of apprehension on the side of Gamecock Nation, and I was feeling that as well, and I wasn't quite sure how this game was going to play out, but none of that mattered because when the teams took the field, you could clearly tell that South Carolina was loose, they were confident, they were ready to play this game, they marched out their second and third string running back. They marched out their second string quarterback, and that defense that had been much maligned against teams like Arkansas, against teams like Tennessee for their past defense. How were they going to stand up against this high-flying Clemson offense? And I thought they did an amazing job. A little shaky early on there in the game. In that first quarter, Clemson has that drive where they just run it and throw it right down South Carolina's throat. The defense was looking pass when Clemson was running. The defense was looking run when Clemson was passing. Just the multiple formations that we talked about last week, the multiple looks they get out of the same formation really had the Carolina defense on its heels there early in the ball game. And if you were a Gamecock fan, you really kind of had to be cautious there, and you were walking around on eggshells. The fans were crunk. The stadium was just coming unhinged. Everybody was into it. An amazing atmosphere. I really have to give it to the Clemson fan base. Death Valley, while it's tough for Gamecock Nation to give Clemson props in anything, I really think if you are a level-headed Carolina fan, there are a lot of things to like up there in those hills in Clemson. And I think that atmosphere, I think the stadium was packed, was juiced, was ready to go. Dabo Swinney had some interesting words before the game talking about how he wanted to make the Death Valley the most intimidating environment. He even went so far as to say he wanted fans that were wearing opposing shirts and jerseys to feel uncomfortable and try and look for a way out of the stadium. That may have been taking a little bit too far, but again, just the primetime environment, the national game, and I thought USC really answered the bell. South Carolina had every opportunity just to fall flat on its face. Clowney hadn't practiced. We had our backup quarterback. How is South Carolina respond in a big-time national spotlight without Marcus Lattimore? Again. But South Carolina came out, did what they needed to do. They didn't seem to be intimidated or scared by what Clemson was bringing to the table, what Chad Morris likes to do with his offense, with the playmakers, Nuke Hopkins, Sammy Watkins, Andre Ellington, Taj Boyd. There are a lot of reasons to feel good if you are a Clemson fan. However, there were not many reasons to feel good at the end of the game if you were a Clemson fan. I think there are two statistical categories you can really point to that just told the tale of this game. South Carolina controlled the ball for a total time of possession for 39 minutes and 58 seconds. We'll just round up to 40 minutes versus Clemson's 20 minutes of possession. They only ran 19 plays in the entire second half. That was it. They only had one scoring drive in the second half, which was that long field goal. So South Carolina came out and kept Clemson's playmakers off of the field, and you're going to hear Steve Spurrier here coming up just after our next commercial break talk about it. That was the game plan going into the football game. Sammy Watkins can't run in touchdowns if he's not on the field. Andre Ellington can't get to the second level of the defense if he's not on the field. So the running game was a priority. I thought Dylan Thompson came in, and he was the man that South Carolina needed to lead them down the field, throwing the ball 41 times, passing the ball. South Carolina passed for 310 yards, rushed for 134 yards. It was just Clemson, they love to get their 90-plus plays or their 70-plus plays. They didn't get anywhere near that amount of plays. As a matter of fact, it was South Carolina that was flipping the script and the ones out there on the field running play after play after play. And while it may not reflect in the score, 27-17, that is now 4 years in a row South Carolina has won by double digits. And I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. And that's 5 out of the last 7 years that South Carolina has beaten Clemson. A team that used to have South Carolina's number. If you just go back and look through the annals of the rivalry, you can see Clemson breaking off 4-game chunks, 5 games in a row chunks, several times back through this rivalry, especially early, during the 1920s and 30s. However, the tables have certainly turned, and there are a lot of people up in Death Valley certainly scratching their heads, wondering what they have to do to make sure that South Carolina does not beat them anymore in this rivalry. I have seen, I have read, I have heard tons of Clemson postgame reaction. A lot of the fan base is very upset. You hear the typical, I'd rather go 7-4 and beat South Carolina than 10-2 or 11-1 and still lose to South Carolina year after year after year. The ACC doesn't prepare you for playing big-time out-of-conference opponents like in the SEC. And I'll set that off to the side and save that for a little bit later, because trust me, I have plenty to say about that SEC ACC comparison that I got bashed over the head for by some of the people that were listening and following the show last week when we had the Clemson Carolina combo show. There were tons of Clemson fans just chirping left and right about the mighty SEC dominance. Even Clemson Tom himself. Why did South Carolina fans talk about the ACC? What has South Carolina done in the SEC? What has South Carolina ever done in the SEC? What makes you think every time Alabama and Georgia go to the SEC championship game that's why do South Carolina fans talk about that? That doesn't make any sense. And we're going to get into that a little bit later in the program, but just a lot to feel good about. 4 in a row. Fear the thumb if you are a Clemson fan. Stick with us on the other side of this short commercial break. We're going to get into Spur Your Post game right here on the Carolina CrowLine.
Black and guarded is all you see. Pride and ambition and Gamecock traditions. Yeah, we're all one big family. Carolina, sweet Carolina. Yeah, I'm proud of where I'm from.
All right, welcome back into the program. Coming back into Louie Louie. You know what? When they play that song at Williams-Brice, they should start saying, Clowny, Clowny. I don't know. Bad joke, I guess, but that's just kind of my version of the song. I'm sure Taj Boyd will be singing Clowny, Clowny in his nightmares here for the next couple weeks. By the way, Jadeveon Clowney, 4.5 sacks in the game, sets a Memorial Stadium record for sacks in a game by a visiting team, a record that actually was set by Notre Dame. I want to say, I saw this somewhere, I want to say that record was set maybe in the 50s or 60s, somewhere around that time area. But Clowney gets a record all of his own, more than one record actually. He has now set the single season record for a South Carolina defender for sacks in a season, a record that was held by Andrew Province and tied by Melvin Ingram last year, but now Clowney stands alone. I believe he has 13 sacks now on the season, 4.5 sacks in this past game. Clowney, interestingly enough, was very fired up for this game. There was a Clemson offensive lineman by the name of Dalton Freeman. I'm sure if you're a follower of one program or the other, you definitely know his name. He's a guy who's been a starter on the offensive line for a very, very long time. We broadcast here at the CRM studios in Lexington. He's from not too far away from here. But he was a guy who made some comments, some post-practice comments about how they face guys like Clowney in the ACC week in and week out. And I think that message got back to Clowney, and he wanted to show them that he was not the same kind of guy that they're used to seeing. But on the front side of that break, I told you that we were going to get into a little bit of post-game press conference from Coach Steve Spurrier. So let me toss it out to the coach, and you can hear what he's got to say about the Carolina-Clemson matchup. Here he is.
Proud of our defense. That's one of the best offenses in the country, and we held them down pretty well to 17 points. Offensively, we sort of did what we needed to do as far as playing sort of ugly and running for nothing and nothing and nothing and nothing. But we kept that clock churning away, and then we'd hit a ball or two here or there and get a good gracious penalty here or there, but we didn't. We had a lot of mistakes in the game, but fortunately our defense was very good there in the second half. That scramble play that Dylan hit, who did he hit? Was that Bruce back there? Bruce, wasn't it? Yeah, Bruce back there. We were trying to hit the tight end. They had about 3 guys on him. That was a key play in the game. A 6-point lead would not have been much of a lead. But as it turned out, our defense was really good, and we feel fortunate. This team got some excellent leaders, guys that really know how to play. So we're obviously pretty happy to come out of here with the victory. He played pretty well. He missed a few here and there, but he hit a bunch here and there too. And he was ready to play. He wanted to play. Connor's not been able to practice all week. And he needed to rest that foot if he could. So he should be ready for the bowl game. Wherever we end up, Connor should be the guy ready to go.
At what point did you decide that Dylan was going to be?
We decided about Wednesday when Connor couldn't practice again. And it was time to give Dylan another shot. You know, he played some earlier in the year and played pretty well. So it was time to maybe let him get out there and get the balls in the air a little bit. We hit a few, missed a bunch, but our defense was good enough. We didn't have to play super on offense. But I guess we did scrape out 27 points, which is pretty good for us.
Steve, other side of the ball, Jadeveon Clowney, what else can you say?
Yeah, Jadeveon got a game ball. Yeah, and of course we gave one to all the seniors that have played here. So Jadeveon, we stood him up, moved him around a little bit, and hopefully get a one-on-one. But you can't block Jadeveon one-on-one. So we got him one more year, and then we're gonna shake his hand and thank him for everything he's done for South Carolina.
You had 12 third down, fourth down conversions. What do you?
Had how many?
12.
Did we really? Well, we were hoping that it would be that kind of game. I don't know how many plays they had the second half, but it wasn't many. Does anybody know how many they had?
19, Coach. That was 19 plays.
8 in the third quarter. Yep. So our goal was to make sure that they didn't. Oh, they had one less than they had last year. They had 59. We had 86. We had a lot of. I know we didn't have a lot of yards for those 86, but we did have clock, and it was almost 40 minutes. Yeah, we had almost 40 minutes. And that's what we hoped would happen. Didn't know it was going to happen, but it sort of worked out the way we hoped.
Steve, one last touchdown drive. Have you ever had one like that? I mean, 2 pass interference to get you kind of keep going backwards.
Yeah, the quarterback draw just kept coming out, didn't it? Came out twice. And Dylan made a beautiful run on one that was called back for holding. And then the next one got us down there to about the 5 or 6 yard line. And then it took 3 plays to get that one in. But, yeah, it just worked out. Clemson's a very good team. And they just, like I say, made a bunch of third downs there. And that was a big difference in the game, too. Said 11 of 21 here, almost 12. Yeah.
Coach, how much satisfaction that you now have a senior class that has never lost to Clemson?
Yeah, that's good for them. They'll sort of feather in the hat, whatever you call it, something that they can take with them. That they won all 4 years. I know Tommy Suggs has always said he won all 3 years, and but anyway, yeah, that's sort of neat. But it's good to get 10 wins again. And that's always good to beat your in-state rival. But they're a good team, and Davo does a super job with those guys. And like I told our guys, they got good players. They play very sportsmanlike. We haven't had any kind of pushing, shoving, mouthy. We don't have any of that kind of crap with Clemson. So it's a good, hard-fought rivalry now, and we've just been fortunate to win a bunch of them lately.
Seemed like, he's obviously not known for being as mobile as Connor, but it seemed like he made the decision very quickly when he didn't see something. How big was that, and what was kind of the initial thought on that play?
What play was that?
The 3rd and 19, he runs for 20. It was 3 plays before the final touchdown.
Well, that was called a quarterback draw. That's what that's called. Yeah, I was just hoping to get it down in there somewhere and get a field goal out of it, and lo and behold, he makes 20. Yeah, that was a called play, as was the other one.
All-time win record, Coach?
Yeah, that's sort of neat that it came against our in-state rival. It's interesting. A couple of my other so-called big numbers came against Georgia. Number 100 and number 250 came against Georgia. So to have this one at number 65, that's makes it special. The ball's worth keeping, put it that way. And the other ball was, I think, UAB, was a 200 win. But that's not bad, but still, when you beat a team like Georgia and Clemson, it's a little more special. Yeah.
What does a run like this against your rival, what does it do for your program?
Yeah, I don't know what it does. We still are trying to win the SEC. We still beat Georgia and lose 2 after that. We've had identical years right now. If we win our bowl game, we'll have almost the exact same year we had last year, which is not bad. But we'll wait and see how that plays out. But it's, I mean, we like beating Georgia and hopefully Florida and Tennessee and all those, as well as Clemson. Yeah, we sort of put them in the same bracket, to tell you the truth. I know our fans don't, but I think our team approaches it pretty similarly. Yeah. For a guy that hadn't played much, that was he had a pretty good game. Yeah, he had a pretty good game. And he likes playing. He's not afraid to play. So he wanted to stay in there, and he was appreciative. Connor was actually able to play if we wanted to put him in there. But we thought that Dylan was playing well enough to try to finish it off.
All right, so there's a little bit, from Coach. You can just kind of get the sense, how relieved he is about the game and the program, the status. You hear about him echoing kind of the same sentiments as we had going on last year. Still looking to get over that hump, though, in the SEC. Stick with us right here on the Carolina CrowLine.
Let's pull the 2-seat out, baby. Wherever you want to go.
Think if you live in a rural area you have to settle for a slow online experience?
We think that's crazy.
Exceed Broadband. It's the highest capacity satellite in the world, and it makes everything faster. Streaming videos, TV shows and movies, sharing photos, video chatting, sending files, and more. New feature, Late Night Free Zone. For details, call 800-503-7232. That's 800-503-7232 for Exceed Broadband. Call 800-503-7232. Again, 800-503-7232. Call now, 800-503-7232.
Attention pain sufferers. Are you one of the millions of Americans who suffer from arthritis pain, back pain, muscle strains, or any other pain? Get pain relief in minutes with real-time pain relief. It can work that fast. If your pain is preventing you from enjoying life, or worse, if pain is keeping you up at night, visit rtpr.com/radio for your free sample. We're so confident real-time pain relief will help you, we'll even pay for the shipping and handling. That's right, free sample and free shipping of the best-smelling, most effective topical pain relief product on the market.
I tried it and it worked. The fragrance is amazing. It has a refreshing scent, so I'm pain-free and smell good too.
The makers of real-time pain relief are so confident that you'll love their product. They're offering you a sample absolutely free, and that includes free shipping. Remember to visit rtpr.com/radio now for your free sample with free shipping. That's rtpr.com/radio. Again, go to rtpr.com/radio.
And now the number one reason to get Genie from DirecTV, the most advanced HD DVR ever. It serves your entire home with one HD DVR. Call now and get a free upgrade to Genie. Packages start at $29.99 a month.
Call 800-399-5101 now and get the NFL Sunday ticket free for the rest of the season. That's 800-399-5101.
DirecTV or an RVU-enabled TV device required for each additional room. Additional and advanced receiver fees apply. Offer requires 24-month agreement and qualifying package. $29.99 package not eligible. Offer ends 2/6/13. New approved customers only. Lease required. Other conditions apply. Call for details.
G-Dog General Dentistry at Oak Grove is located on Highway 1 near the Barnyard Flea Market. Modern, relaxing dentistry with TVs and headphones in every room, nitrous and even oral sedation. Digital diagnostic x-rays for better quality and 85% less radiation exposure. And check out their new Clemson Patient Special. Mention that you heard about G-Dog here on the Clemson Sports Talk programs and receive an extra 5% off all services through football season. If you don't have a regular dentist, go see my dentist, Dr. Rick Jackson at G-Dog. That's General Dentistry at Oak Grove.
All right, we are plugging along here on the Carolina CrowLine. I'm your host, Tyler Garrett, talking all things Gamecock. And right now, all things Gamecock is Carolina Clemson post-game, end of the season kind of wrap-up. And if you're a member of Gamecock Nation, you can you have put a bow on this season exactly how you wanted it to go. When you take a look back on the season, of course, a hard-fought back and forth, close loss out there in Baton Rouge, and just an unfortunate series of events with just the turnover bug in Gainesville really kind of derailed the season. And if you're a Gamecock fan, you can just think of what may have been. If you can just get one of those back, I think you are right in the thick of a national championship hunt, because you're talking about a team in LSU and Florida that were both top 5 at the time. And when you take a look at beating the top 5, Georgia, and then a number 11, or excuse me, number 10, depending on the poll, Clemson, if you can get 3 out of those 4, I think you are sitting very pretty in the BCS. 803-450-0086 is the number to call if you want to go ahead and get on the CrowLine. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, at Carolina CrowLine, hashtag CrowLine. Go ahead and email in your thoughts and questions, carolina@y'all.com, carolina@y'all.com. You can always download our podcast for free on iTunes. Just go to Apple's iTunes and type in Carolina CrowLine. You can check out all of our podcasts, I guess, and streaming editions of the program on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com, type in Carolina CrowLine. We are all over the place. You can listen for us in your local radio market, or watch us and listen to us live on Vocal, generally coming to you on Sundays. A special Monday edition of the program. I have to tell you, my wife's birthday celebration was yesterday on Sunday, so we had to push the Carolina CrowLine back to today, Monday, as we stream live. If you're listening to this on the radio, it is obviously not Sunday or Monday, of course, but happy birthday out there to my wife. Big 29 today, 29. So let's take a look around the SEC before we get into any more Carolina Clemson, because we've got plenty more to talk about. Gene Chizik is out at Auburn after suffering that shutout 49-0 at the hands of Alabama. A hard-fought game between Arkansas and LSU results in an LSU victory 20-13. Ole Miss wins the Egg Bowl over Mississippi State 41-24. Missouri gets beaten down by Texas A&M 59-29. Texas A&M, a team that really kind of derailed Carolina's BCS hopes. Florida beats their ACC opponent 37-26 up there in Tallahassee. Georgia takes care of their ACC opponent 42-10, rolling over the Ramblin' Wreck, which is no truer sense of the word at this particular moment of the season. Georgia Tech 42-10. Kentucky falls to Tennessee 37-17, but the damage has been done. Derek Dooley is out at Tennessee. Joker Phillips, of course, out at Kentucky. Of course, we know all about South Carolina 27-17, and Vanderbilt rolls over their ACC opponent 55-21 in Wake Forest. That brings the grand total up to ACC 1-5 against the SEC this year. Their lone victory came when Clemson beat Auburn at the beginning of the year, and we know what kind of train wreck Auburn has been this season. Tennessee, of course, beat NC State, and then the 4 games this weekend where the SEC went a perfect 4-0 against the ACC. You heard Steve Spurrier in the front end of that commercial break in his post-game press conference. He told you the game plan was to keep the playmakers off of the field. I thought they did an excellent job of that. 86 plays versus Clemson's 59 plays. That was a difference in the game. Third down conversions, South Carolina 11 for 21 versus Clemson's 5 for 12 on third down. Of course, Taj Boyd with 2 costly picks, one definitely in the second half. Dylan Thompson only really had about 1 or 2 bad passes in that game. The interception in the end zone, and there was another bad pass. I believe it was on that same drive over there in the red zone as well. That could have been picked. There was another pick that was dropped by Clemson. So, again, you've just seen this over and over. Clemson has had their opportunities to be successful in this rivalry, but when they present themselves, last year that Sammy Watkins dropped touchdown pass where he would have just walked into the end zone at Williams-Brice Stadium, it's just a story of Carolina takes advantage of their opportunities. Clemson does not take advantage of their opportunities. Carolina is more physical up front in the trenches and does what they need to do to be successful. Clemson just looks like they don't have an answer. And again, a lot of people have talked about the ACC and the SEC, and I'm still pushing that back for later in the program. I'm not ready to go off on that just yet. But one thing I do want to talk about is more of the records that have been broken. We have been talking about this for 2 whole years now with Coach Steve Spurrier. This is the history and the tradition that South Carolina is building right now. There is no tradition in history to speak of when you talk about past championships. There's one in 1969, but there's a Heisman Trophy winner, but that is basically about it. South Carolina was an independent for a good many handful of years, and there is no real tradition. It is being built right now. Steve Spurrier becomes the all-time winningest coach in South Carolina history. He got his 65th win, which the old record was set by Rex Enright with a record of 64. He is now the all-time winningest coach at 2 separate SEC schools. Here's your trivia question for the day. What other coach has been the winningest coach at 2 different SEC schools? I'm not going to give you the answer right now. I'll tell you a little bit later in the program. It's Bear Bryant. That's right. I couldn't help myself. Bear Bryant is the only other coach to be the winningest coach at 2 different SEC schools. South Carolina has won double-digit victories 2 times in a row for the first time ever in program history. That's right, with the 11 wins last year and now the 10 wins this year in back-to-back years. That is the first time ever that has happened. Of course, we talked about earlier in the program, Jadeveon Clowney is now the all-time single-season leader in sacks in South Carolina history, also setting the single-game record at Memorial Stadium in Clemson. Erica chimes in on vocal telling us that Jadeveon Clowney broke the record that was set by Bruce Smith. Of course, Bruce Smith, formerly of Virginia Tech in 1984, had the record, as well as Ross Browner of Notre Dame set the 4 sacks in 1977. So that record was set 2 times, but Jadeveon Clowney is now the owner of that record. Also, Ace Sanders is now the all-time punt yardage leader in South Carolina history. He was able to break that mark in that game against Clemson. So again, just the records continue to fall. This senior class has never lost to Clemson. They are the winningest senior class in the history of South Carolina. I dare to say the senior class next year, if we continue to have this kind of on-field success that we have been having recently, if we can build off this next year and possibly challenge for an SEC crown, next year's senior class will be knock off this year's senior class as the winningest class in South Carolina history. So again, just the records continue to fall. Erica also chimes in wanting to know have we seen the last of Connor Shaw as a starting quarterback? And, of course, reminding us of the all-time record, 65, 41, and 4, all-time in favor of Clemson. Erica, that is an excellent question. There's no secret that Dylan Thompson, every time he has come into a ball game, no matter the opponent, has been able to put up the stats and lead his team to victory. 23 of 41 for 310 yards and 3 touchdown passes just this past Saturday up there in what was probably the most hostile Clemson environment that I've ever been a part of following this rivalry. Of course, Connor Shaw, a junior this year, coming back for his senior year. Dylan Thompson, a redshirt sophomore, 2 years left of eligibility. One thing that you can definitely say about Dylan Thompson is he sets his feet and he fires that football, and we've talked about it here on the CrowLine. Steve Spurrier's talked about it. Connor Shaw got benched for the second half against the Gators down there in Gainesville for the exact same problem, getting those happy feet, not going through his progressions, kind of flushing the pocket, and not running for many yards. But Dylan Thompson does not have that problem. He is not the runner that Connor Shaw is. However, clearly, if you are watching the same game I was watching this past Saturday, Dylan Thompson does have the ability to move the football with his feet. He ran for that touchdown that was called back on a holding penalty. That 3rd and 19 quarterback draw that you heard Steve Spurrier talk about in his post-game press conference was another prime-time example of the kinds of things that Dylan Thompson, by the way, a former 3-star recruit out of Boiling Springs, South Carolina. Another interesting tidbit, the last time a Boiling Springs quarterback started for South Carolina would be one Phil Petty, leading us to back-to-back bowl victories in the Outback Bowl. And you'll hear the name Outback Bowl come up later in the program when we talk about possible bowl destinations. But to answer your question, Erica, I don't think so. I think this is Connor Shaw's team right now. I think he has proven enough as a starter, only losing, I think, 3 times as a starter here and winning the rest of his games, that this is his team. He is going to be, if I had to guess, he is going to be the guy that is going to start the bowl game. And as we go into spring practice next year, it will be interesting to see how that quarterback battle shapes out. And who would have ever thought, after the debacle that was Steven Garcia, that we would actually have a legit quarterback battle on our hands with so much talent at the quarterback position. Connor Shaw returning for his senior year. Dylan Thompson, of course, is going to be coming back. And don't forget the name Brandon Nosovich, a kid who came in, who broke all of Jim Kelly's passing records up in Pennsylvania. Redshirted this year, is a Gamecock. He also has something to say about the quarterback position, so it'll be interesting to see how all that plays out. Stick with us right here as we're going to jump out to a short break on the Carolina program. But on the way back, bowl projections right here on the CrowLine. 803-450-0086 is the number to call. That's 803-450-0086 is the number to call if you want to go ahead and get on the CrowLine and talk about your Clemson, Carolina experience. Let us know what you think about Erica's question. Do you think that is the last time that we've seen Connor Shaw as a starting quarterback for the South Carolina Gamecocks? I say no. I just really don't see that happening. I think G.A. Mangus and Steve Spurrier have invested enough in Connor Shaw, and he's that kind of high-character leader type guy that is the kind of guy you want leading your team. I'm not trying to say in any way insinuate that is not Dylan Thompson, but I just think when you talk about having a senior at the quarterback position, stranger things have happened, of course, but I just think right now Connor Shaw is the starting quarterback of this program. Interesting note, in the last, 4 years now, 4 years in a row that Clemson has fallen to the Gamecocks, it has happened with a different quarterback. The first two times, Stephen Garcia, of course, last year, Connor Shaw, and now Dylan Thompson comes in to the program as the starter, as the guy that you pin all your hopes on, and then he is able to just come in and do what he needs to do to lead this program. So again, I can't say enough about the amazing victory. It feels good. You're happy to be a Gamecock, and it's just a good time. It's a good time to be a Gamecock fan. I tell you what, it just seems like Clemson people's heads are about to explode with the way things have been going out there. If you're a Tiger fan, they're just not a happy bunch of campers. But right now, I want to turn our attention to bowl projections. Of course, we talked about that Alabama loss really hurt USC, especially it coming at the hands of Texas A&M. Texas A&M, if they would have gotten that third loss to Alabama, all would have been well in the universe of the SEC, and South Carolina definitely would have been pushing for that second spot in the BCS. It may not have happened, of course, but all indications pointed to South Carolina getting a very, very nice bowl. But now, just the way the dominoes are falling, it just doesn't look like South Carolina will be rewarded in the way that it should be rewarded. Right now, when you take a look at the bowl projections on ESPN.com, Mark Schlabach and Brad Edwards, kind of like the BCS bowl gurus, they both have South Carolina playing Northwestern in the Outback Bowl. And my immediate reaction is just, bleh. Northwestern, Outback Bowl. Do South Carolina fans need to be reminded what happened in 2008 when South Carolina got shellacked by Florida and by Clemson? Chris Smelley gets benched. Stephen Garcia starts the bowl game, and then he throws 3 interceptions, and I was there. South Carolina fans did not travel for that game, a New Year's Day game. The Iowa fans clearly, easily outnumbered the South Carolina fans, and South Carolina just laid a big dud in Tampa there for the Outback Bowl. It was a disaster, and after that, the Outback people just kind of soured on South Carolina, and it's been, again, since 2008, since South Carolina has even been mentioned for the Outback Bowl. But right now, if things continue the way they are, it actually looks like it's going to be South Carolina and Northwestern. Northwestern because of Ohio State being ineligible and Penn State being ineligible. Northwestern is the third best team in the Big Ten up there. They've got, of course, looking at it, Rutgers, Florida State in the Orange Bowl. Nebraska, that's Nebraska who South Carolina played last year. That's who it is. It's going to be playing for the Big Ten Championship. They look like they've got them going to the Rose Bowl. Michigan versus Texas A&M in the Capital One Bowl. You're probably going to have Clemson fall to the Chick-fil-A Bowl, and, of course, they're not going to have a rematch of the Clemson-Carolina game. So then that has South Carolina dropping even further down the SEC pecking order. You've got to find a place for Vanderbilt. You've got to find a place for Mississippi State. So it just looks like South Carolina is kind of going to, LSU needs to find a place to go. They're going to be in the Cotton Bowl more than likely, depending on the outcome of the SEC championship game. So it just looks like South Carolina is not going to be handsomely rewarded in the same way that they were last year for this kind of amazing season, this 10-2, this back-to-back record of double-digit wins 2 seasons consecutively for the first time ever that you would think. And my hope is that doesn't kind of put a damper on the Gamecock Nation. You say to yourself, we've tried really hard. We tripped up at LSU. We fell behind the 8 ball and couldn't keep up down in Gainesville against the Gators. I don't want to go to the Joe Schmo Outback Bowl at 12 o'clock on New Year's Day down in Tampa against Northwestern, which is basically the Vanderbilt of the Big Ten. Why do I want to spend my hard-earned dollars after Christmas time, where I'm basically broke already, to go down there for that kind of a bowl game? And I hope South Carolina fans travel to that game, but right now it just looks like to me just kind of an anticlimactic part of the season where South Carolina just is not going to. Too many good teams in the SEC. When you take a look at the BCS, I mean, for crying out loud, you've got Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Texas A&M, Florida, of course, and South Carolina, just all jam-packed right there, and there's no room for everybody to go, so somebody's going to be left out. And unfortunately, because of the way that South Carolina lost against an LSU who's higher than them, against a Florida that's higher than them, you've beaten Clemson, who's going to fall into one of your potential bowl games where that bowl team isn't even going to schedule that matchup, that rematch. You're not going to see that sort of stuff again. Georgia, they even have Georgia-Clemson. Georgia-Clemson open the season next year in Atlanta. And you have Brad Edwards saying that's how they're going to close the season, in Atlanta at the Chick-fil-A Bowl, Clemson and Georgia. So it just looks like South Carolina, unfortunately, when you talk about history and the big-time fan base, when you take a rabid A&M fan base who's knocking down the doors of the SEC in their first year, you take an LSU who played in the national championship game, runner-up, you're going to jump at those types of programs. Georgia, who's at a fever pitch right now, who's been rolling over everybody since they got their rear ends handed to them here in Columbia. Just everybody seems to be set up in a position better than South Carolina right now. It's a little bit unfortunate. Stick with us right here as we come back for our last segment, and we talk about ACC versus SEC, and I get some stuff off my chest right here on the Carolina CrowLine.
Friday at 5, man, I work, but I don't climb. Boss man can shove that overtime up his can. All I wanna do is put a drink in my hand. To fill it up, I'll throw it down.
Want to hear the sound of hassle-free traveling?
All aboard!
Amtrak takes the hassle out of traveling to over 500 destinations. You can stretch out in a spacious seat, relax in a sleeping car, and enjoy a hot meal in the dining car. And for those who want to kick back and take in the scenery, go right ahead. For everything you get on Amtrak, the one thing you won't get is this. So whether you're going to a family reunion or an away game, make it a whole lot nicer on Amtrak. Book your trip today at Amtrak.com or call 1-800-USA-RAIL.
All aboard! Hate the thought of shopping? All that hassle and can't find what you're looking for anyway? We understand. Retail stores make it difficult. Instead, try www.edistooutdoors.com. Edisto Outdoors features performance apparel and gear engineered for performance, comfort, and style. EdistoOutdoors.com. You'll enjoy the shopping and you'll enjoy the products. Great products from people who care.
Attention pain sufferers. Are you one of the millions of Americans who suffer from arthritis pain, back pain, muscle strains, or any other pain? Get pain relief in minutes with real-time pain relief. It can work that fast. If your pain is preventing you from enjoying life, or worse, if pain is keeping you up at night, visit rtpr.com/radio for your free sample. We're so confident real-time pain relief will help you. We'll even pay for the shipping and handling. That's right, free sample and free shipping of the best-smelling, most effective topical pain relief product on the market.
I tried it and it worked. The fragrance is amazing. It has a refreshing scent, so I'm pain-free and smell good too.
The makers of real-time pain relief are so confident that you'll love their product. They're offering you a sample absolutely free, and that includes free shipping. Remember to visit rtpr.com/radio now for your free sample with free shipping. That's rtpr.com/radio. Again, go to rtpr.com/radio.
We scoop the boot, dutycalls.com. When nobody else will do it, dutycalls.com. To make that dog poop go away, call or click for a free quote today.
When nature calls, we answer. To get a free quote for dog poop removal, go to dutycalls.com now.
DOODYCalls.com.
In the Midlands area, dial 1-800-DUTY-CALLS. They're number 1 and number 2.
And now the number one reason to get Genie from DirecTV, the most advanced HD DVR ever. It serves your entire home with one HD DVR. Call now and get a free upgrade to Genie. Packages start at $29.99 a month.
Call 800-399-5101 now and get the NFL Sunday ticket free for the rest of the season. That's 800-399-5101.
DirecTV or an RVU-enabled TV device required for each additional room. Additional and advanced receiver fees apply. Offer requires 24-month agreement and qualifying package. $29.99 package not eligible. Offer ends 2/6/13. New approved customers only. Lease required. Other conditions apply. Call for details.
Think if you live in a rural area you have to settle for a slow online experience? We think that's crazy. Exceed Broadband. It's the highest capacity satellite in the world, and it makes everything faster. Streaming videos, TV shows and movies, sharing photos, video chatting, sending files, and more. New feature, Late Night Free Zone. For details, call 800-503-7232. That's 800-503-7232 for Exceed Broadband. Call 800-503-7232. Again, 800-503-7232. Call now, 800-503-7232.
All right, we are back here for our final segment of the program, and it's time. Oh, boy, it's time for what I've been waiting for, and it's to get something off my chest. Last week, if you listened to the program here on the Carolina CrowLine, like I said, we did the combo show, and there were a lot of Clemson fans that were following on Vocal and chatting with us and tweeting with us during the program. And Clemson Tom called in. And if you don't know Clemson Tom, who he is, just go to YouTube and type in Clemson Tom. You'll know exactly who he is real quick. But for those of you that do know who Clemson Tom is, he called in. He's a friend of the guy, our friend Lawton Swan, who does the Clemson Hotline. And he just... Here's what he was just talking about, the SEC, and what has the SEC ever done for South Carolina, and how come every time something goes good in the SEC, South Carolina fans are all, SEC, that doesn't make any sense. South Carolina's never done anything in the SEC. You're just the fifth best team in the SEC. Clemson's bringing home shares and ACC championships with Dabo Swinney. What has the SEC ever done, or what have you ever done in the SEC, South Carolina fans? Well, let me tell you what, Clemson Tom and all those other guys that were chatting with us on Twitter and on Vocal during our combo program. You saw this past Saturday, and for the last 3 years before that, what the SEC has done for South Carolina, because every time we show up in your ballpark here recently, or you make the trip down to Columbia and come to our place, you see exactly what the SEC does for South Carolina. You see a team that is more physical up front on the defensive line. You see a team that knows how to hit. You see a team that is battle-tested and does not freak out when their backs are up against the wall. You see a team that has strong leadership, strong coaching, and a firm game plan for how to attack the weaknesses of every opponent they face week in and week out. You come to the SEC, Clemson, and you play at Georgia, an LSU, a Florida, a Tennessee, an Alabama, who, by the way, the last time we played Alabama was number one in the nation, and we also beat them. You come to our place, step into our world, Clemson, and prepare like a champion. I'm talking SEC. I'm talking 6 national championships in a row, in position to play for a 7th. South Carolina may not have won an SEC championship. As a matter of fact, we barely even sniffed an SEC championship. But guess what? Not barely even sniffing an SEC championship, appearing once in 2010, makes us a better football team than playing Boston College, Wake Forest, Duke, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is playing in your ACC championship game because you can't even find somebody on that side of the division that can win without cheating. So I don't want to hear Clemson fans talking about, oh, South Carolina always thumps their chest about the SEC. Well, you saw what the SEC has done for South Carolina. So I am sick, and I don't want to have another Clemson fan tell me about how South Carolina just thumps their chest about the SEC, because you saw the byproduct of what it takes to be competitive in the SEC. And guess what it was? It was a tail cutting in front of a packed house, in front of Dabo Swinney and Chad Morris and all those guys that are offensive geniuses up there in Tiger Town, getting embarrassed year after year after year. That is what being in the SEC is. It's 27-17. It's 34-13. It's 29-7. It's 34-17. That's what it is. And if Clemson fans out there think for a second that the SEC is going to come knocking on your door to have you come join our conference, you're crazy. That is not going to happen. You can come crawling all you want. I don't see it happening. I'm Tyler Garrett. This is the Carolina CrowLine. Boy, do I feel better now. I love my Clemson friends, but I'm just sick and tired of hearing the same old argument. Thanks for listening to us on the Carolina CrowLine. We'll be back next week with a season wrap-up. This is the Carolina CrowLine. Go Cox. Fear the thumb. 4 in a row.